Guys, so today there's Liberty. It's hot out, but today I am going out to gather some jewelweed. If anybody knows me, I tend to have all kinds of skin reactions to bugs and poison ivy, poison oak. This stuff loves me, and I'm constantly fighting off, like having to treat bites and infections. So when I was out here in the mowing in this pasture a week or so ago, I spotted all of this jewelweed. Now it is pretty dry. We haven't had a lot of rain the last couple of weeks, so this is kind of dry, but I'm still going to go ahead and harvest them and make a tincture, like infused Witch Hazel tincture, like ointment, and so that I can treat the bites on my legs. I was actually out collecting elderberries yesterday, and I don't know if it was something in the field or something near the pens, like bugs, but either I picked up poison ivy, poison oak, or some kind of bug bites, and my legs are just a hot mess, and they're really making me nuts. So we're gonna do this. This is jewelweed. Again, it's a little bit wilted right now because we haven't had a lot of rain, but you can tell by these flowers, it's so pretty, and you can see there's a whole bunch of it here. So I don't want to like decimate all of the plants, but I am going to harvest a bunch of this. You can see there's quite a bit here, so I'm comfortable taking a bunch, and this one actually looks a little less dry, so I'm probably going to grab this. There's also poison ivy. So jewelweed and poison ivy grow a lot in the same places. Be sure that you aren't making your problems worse by hitting the poison ivy when you're harvesting the jewelweed. That would kind of be the double whammy there. But there's quite a bit of jewelweed back behind the fence there, but I don't want to tread right here because there's a lot of poison ivy growing in the same spot. So I'm just gonna make sure I steer clear of anything that's going to make the issues worse. Got a little moth. All right, when we're harvesting the jewelweed, we want to take the stems, flowers, and leaves. Where the stems come together is where there's the most juice. So let me get my scissors and collecting basket, and I will be back in just a minute. Okay, so here is my kind of collection, all things garden, farm, and harvest, and a pair of crummy old scissors that I use for things just like this. I don't use my actual kitchen scissors, but we're gonna cut off these. We want to get nodules. See these nodules here where, oh, hope that's focused, where it's kind of thick. That's where a lot of the juice is, and this juice inside is, it's almost like a pasty, milky substance that it contains the most healing properties. You can actually cut this and rub it right on bug bites or poison ivy if you want to, right out in the field. So this is kind of an instant treatment, instant relief for bug bites, poison ivy, poison oak, things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. I don't have a tripod or anything out here, so I'm trying to do all this one-handed, but I'm just going to cut. Well, all right, let me pause. All right, so I started cutting some. The other fun thing about jewelweed, it's also called a touch-me-not. The reason it's called a touch-me-not is because if you can find ripe seed pods and you touch them, this one may go, it shoots seeds out in all different directions and kind of curls back. Let's see if we can get one. Nope, that one didn't do it. I don't think these are quite ripe enough yet. I found a couple, like this one here, exploded on me. And the seeds in there, and that's how it spreads and propagates every year. All right, let's try this one. See if we can get it to blow. No, of course not. Whoop. There, it popped open once I touched it. But when they're a little drier, they just pop open and shoot the seeds out all over the place. So they're kind of fun, and that's why they're called touch-me-nots. But these have a little ways to go to ripen some more. Here's a few more here. Whoop, there you go. And that's what it looks like after it pops open. And there's a seed. Let's see if I can get it. There you go. That's what it looks like after it pops open, and it's like all curled back. And then to the right there is the little seed, one of them that shot out. So anyway, all right, I'm going to continue cutting a bit more. And yeah, pretty plant. I've got a bunch of this down by the creek as well. It's really pretty. All right, I'll be back. All right, so what you're going to need from here after you've got your jewelweed, we're about to cut that up and remove any of these like dead or spotted leaves. I'm just going to go ahead and take these things off and throw them away. But we're going to cut this up. You're going to need a pair, again, of old scissors or, outdoor scissors. You're going to need a quart jar. You can use a larger jar if you want to make more, but you can use this wide mouth quart jar. It's easier to get the jewelweed out once it's done steeping in the witch hazel. You need some witch hazel. This is very inexpensive at pharmacy, Walmart. You can get this just about anywhere. Doesn't cost a lot. Some people, I guess, distill their own witch hazel. I've never done that, so I'm just using the prepared product. And I'm repurposing a lid. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do want it to actually seal, but it's a great use for lids that maybe used for beans, canning something previously that you might not necessarily trust the seal to, for canning, but it's perfectly fine for something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this up, and we're going to, fill this jar. We're going to mash this down. We want to crush this up to get as much of the juice out of the stems and leaves as possible. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay. One thing you'll notice about jewelweed when you're cutting it is that the stems are hollow. And even though that juice doesn't just like ooze out of there like a milkweed would, when you crush it, and that's a pretty thick one, so that's going to be tough. But when you crush these little nodules, or big nodules in this case, that's where the that healing juice is. So we're part way here. I'm going to fill this up a little bit more, and then we're going to crush it down. Okay, so I'm just using the handle end of a wooden spoon. This jar was pretty full, but once you start pounding it, you see it squishes down quite a bit. And we're just basically pulverizing the stems and leaves and flowers, everything that's in here, to break it down, and which will help with the infusion with the witch hazel. The other thing too, when you're cutting, besides removing any like dead leaves, things like that, make sure you're checking for any little critters. Sometimes there's going to be little spiders, things like that. You can rinse them off or not use that part, but we're just going to go ahead and beat this down. I've got a little bit left, but yeah, I might go ahead and cut the rest and put it in here, and then beat it down some more before I pour the witch hazel over. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest, get it in here, and I will be back. All right, so I've cut up the rest that I had harvested. Again, pulverized. I'm using the handle of a wooden spoon. Just getting this mashed down and broken up as best as we can. Alright, so I've got about half a jar. That might be a little bit much, but it's okay. It might give me a little less liquid once I take out the actual leaves, because we're going to strain this out when it's done steeping. But for now, I'm going to take my Witch Hazel and I'm just going to fill this jar. I might actually have to get more to add it in there, but this will get me started. And we're going to put on our lid. And there's a couple of things you can do from here. So I'm going to shake this first of all to make sure it's all getting covered. And then, whoop, that leaked out a little. I got to tighten that. Then, so you've got a couple choices. You can either put this in a crock pot on low for like 24 to 48 hours and heat it to steep it to make this faster. You can put it in a pan and again simmer. Be careful not to boil it. You might have to make sure your lid is loose. Just be careful not to cook it. You just want to simmer it to get the juices out of the vegetable, the jewelweed stems and leaves. That's also a faster way. Or you can just let it sit. You're going to put it in a cool, dark place. Let it sit for a couple of weeks, actually, and then strain it out. So I'm probably going to go ahead and simmer because I don't want to wait a couple of weeks for this to be done. I need it now. And I might make some more once I get some more Witch Hazel and just let it sit for a couple of weeks in the cabinet. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and simmer this one. Okay, so I've had this simmering on just like low heat for a couple of hours now. This jar's still hot, but you can see it's kind of an amber liquid in there right now. I'm letting this cool in the water. I don't want to shock it with cold water or anything, especially with this lid. It'll actually cause suction. But anyway, we're going to let this cool, and then we're going to go ahead and strain it once it's a workable temperature. Here we are. I let this simmer for several hours, and then I took it out of the pot and just let it sit on the counter and cool so that it's kind of room temperature. Now we're going to I'm going to strain this twice, so I want to make sure I don't have any of the stems or anything left in there when I put the lid on the final jar. So first I'm going to run it through. I've got enough space. Yes. And I'm going to squish out the juice. Alright. Try and do this one-handed. One moment. Okay. I've got a funnel. Jar. Just kind of squeezing out the rest of the liquid here. It's pretty dry though. Alright, I'm going to get some cheesecloth and do it one more time. Okay, so I discarded the used stems and flowers. And we've got this like amber colored liquid. Rinsed out the jar, rinsed out the strainer, and put some several layers of cheesecloth in here. I use this for straining jelly as well. And I'm just going to pour the liquid through the cheesecloth just to be sure that we've gotten out every little bit of the leaves and stems. We don't want that in our final product because it can mildew or mold, and we don't want that in our jar. So squeeze this out. I'm actually going to use this on my poison ivy. All right. we are going to put our lid on, seal this. I actually might put, I don't have a seal for this lid. I put a piece of saran wrap over that lid on, fasten that down. You want to keep this stored in a cool, dark place, so you don't want it sitting in the sun. If you have amber glass, that definitely helps. You know, like I use the apothecary amber glass. It keeps sunlight from affecting the tincture. So there you have it. I hope you find this helpful. Hope this helps with your bug bites, poison ivy, poison oak, and all natural remedy. So everybody, thanks for watching. You have a great rest of your day, and please like and subscribe.